For a long time, the world of Port Charles revolved around a single fixed point. Sonny Corinthos stood at the center like a dark sun, pulling allies and enemies into his orbit through fear, loyalty, and sheer force of will. He was dangerous not only because of what he could do, but because of what everyone believed he was capable of doing. Even when he sat quietly, the threat lingered. Even when he smiled, it felt like a warning. That version of Sonny shaped the town for decades, and the Corinthos organization became a symbol of order within chaos. A criminal empire that survived because its leader never blinked. Now that image is cracking, and through the fracture steps Sidwell, a man who does not need to shout or threaten because he already holds the leverage that matters most. In recent storylines, the shift is impossible to ignore. Sonny bows his head where once he would have stared down any challenger. He listens instead of commands. He absorbs pressure instead of pushing back. For viewers who remember the ruthless strategist who once ended wars with a single phone call, this gentler Sonny feels almost like a stranger. He is calmer, more reflective, and far more willing to accept circumstances he cannot control. There is maturity in that change, even wisdom, but there is also a cost. Power in Sonny's world has never belonged to the patient or the forgiving. It has belonged to those willing to cross lines without hesitation. As Sonny softens, the space he leaves behind does not stay empty for long. That space is where Sidwell thrives. Sidwell is not introduced as a loud villain or a reckless newcomer. He arrives already complete, already established, and already untouchable in ways that matter. He has wealth that is clean enough to pass through polite society and dirty enough to bend rules behind closed doors. He has influence that reaches from private boardrooms to public offices. Most importantly, he has information and resources that even Sonny cannot ignore. Where Sonny once ruled through fear, Sidwell rules through necessity. People listen to him not because they are afraid of what he might do, but because they understand what will happen if they do not comply. The contrast between these two men defines the current tension in Port Charles. Sonny has spent years fighting to keep his family safe, to protect his children from the life he built, and to make peace with the damage he caused. That internal journey has reshaped him. He is no longer interested in endless wars or displays of dominance. He wants stability, and he wants survival without constant bloodshed. Sidwell, on the other hand, sees stability as something to be owned and controlled. He does not seek peace for its own sake. He seeks it because peace under his terms means absolute authority. Sidwell's decision to settle in Windermere is not accidental. Windermere carries symbolic weight, representing legacy, power, and old secrets. By placing himself there, Sidwell signals that he belongs among the elite forces that shape the town's destiny. He embeds himself in multiple business ventures, spreading his influence quietly but efficiently. Each investment ties another thread of Port Charles to his interests. Each partnership creates another obligation. Soon his presence feels unavoidable. Even Mayor Laura, a figure meant to stand above private power struggles, finds herself forced to listen. Not because Sidwell threatens her openly, but because he holds tools that could destabilize the town if misused. This is where Sonny's vulnerability becomes clear. In the past, a man like Sidwell would have been confronted early, challenged before he could gain traction. Sonny would have tested his limits, applied pressure, and reminded him who truly ran the streets. That instinct is missing now. Sonny watches Sidwell build his empire and responds with caution rather than aggression. He weighs consequences more carefully. He hesitates. That hesitation reads as weakness to those who once feared him, and fear has always been the foundation of his authority. Fans have begun to question whether Sonny is losing himself. The question is not whether he is becoming a better man. In many ways, he clearly is. The question is whether the version of Sonny who seeks acceptance and compromise can survive in a world that still rewards ruthlessness. The Corinthos organization, once a tightly controlled machine, now feels like a relic of a louder, harsher era. Without constant direction from Sonny, it stagnates. Orders are not given. Moves are not made. The organization waits, unsure of whether it is still meant to dominate or simply endure. Jason's role in this shift cannot be ignored. For years, Jason was Sonny's extension, the silent enforcer who turned intention into action. His loyalty was absolute, and his presence amplified Sonny's power. Now Jason's support is limited and restrained. He is no longer the unstoppable force clearing obstacles in Sonny's path. Instead, he functions more like a caretaker, helping Sonny keep the Corinthos organization alive rather than pushing it forward. That change matters. Without Jason fully at his side, Sonny's influence shrinks. The organization becomes reactive rather than proactive, defensive rather than commanding. Ironically, the arrival of a worthy opponent like Sidwell should have reignited the danger surrounding Sonny. A rival of equal caliber usually forces a king to sharpen his crown. Yet the opposite happens. Sonny does not rise to the challenge. He does not escalate. He does not remind the town why his name once carried weight. Instead, he allows Sidwell to expand unchecked, and the lack of response sends a clear message. The Corinthos organization moves only when Sonny orders it to, and Sonny is choosing silence. That silence raises a haunting possibility. Perhaps Sonny is preparing to walk away. Perhaps when pushed into a corner, he will choose retreat over retaliation. If that is true, then the era of Sonny Corinthos as the dominant force in Port Charles is nearing its end. Power abhors a vacuum, and Sidwell is more than ready to fill it. He already possesses the elements Sonny once relied on: money, influence, and reach. He does not need to earn respect through fear because he can enforce compliance through systems that appear legitimate on the surface. Sidwell's strength lies in how modern his power feels. Sonny's empire was built in an age of personal loyalty and direct consequences. Sidwell operates in a world of contracts, political pressure, and strategic exposure. He can ruin reputations without firing a shot. He can dismantle organizations by pulling funding or triggering investigations. Against that kind of opponent, Sonny's old tactics feel outdated, and his new mindset leaves him exposed. As Sidwell tightens his grip, the town begins to adjust. People who once aligned themselves with Sonny out of fear or obligation start hedging their bets. They attend Sidwell's gatherings. They invest in his ventures. They listen when he speaks, not because they have turned against Sonny out of hatred, but because they sense the shift in momentum. Power is moving, and survival in Port Charles has always depended on recognizing that movement early. The narrative becomes even more poignant when viewed through the lens of reality beyond the screen. Recent interviews have hinted at Maurice Benard considering retirement. That possibility casts a long shadow over Sonny's storyline. If the actor steps away, the character must either be written out or fundamentally transformed. A downfall at the hands of Sidwell would serve as a symbolic passing of the torch. The old king falls, and a new one rises. It would be a dramatic end, fitting for a character who once defined the show's edge. Yet there is tragedy in that outcome. Sonny is not being defeated because he is weaker in intelligence or courage. He is being defeated because he has changed. He has grown tired of endless conflict. He wants something quieter, something safer for those he loves. In another world, that evolution would be celebrated. In Port Charles, it may be fatal. Sidwell does not share Sonny's desire for peace. He sees peace as a tool, not a goal. And tools can be discarded once they have served their purpose. As the story moves forward, the question is no longer whether Sidwell can replace Sonny. The groundwork has already been laid. The real question is whether Sonny will recognize what is happening in time to decide how he wants his story to end. Will he reclaim the dangerous edge that once kept enemies at bay? Or will he accept that his era is over and step aside willingly? Either choice carries consequences, not just for him, but for the entire town. In the end, this storyline is less about who holds power and more about what power costs. Sonny's journey shows the price of survival in a violent world, and the toll it takes on the soul. Sidwell represents a colder future, one where control replaces loyalty and influence replaces fear. As one man softens and another hardens, Port Charles stands at crossroads. The age of the old mob boss is fading, and the age of the silent empire builder is beginning. Whether Sonny falls or walks away, the result may be the same. The crown is slipping, and Sidwell is already reaching for it.